Paul here from #Sports. Just on my way to go support some local restaurants because you know, in the time of the corona, this is kind of what you got to do. So tonight is day 2 of the NFL draft. Buffalo Bills are finally on the clock after I guess say lackluster. There's a lot of surprises in the first round, but I wanted to bring you guys some names to know going into tonight. So kind of the way that I did this was there are a couple guys on this list that you probably see taken in rounds 2 or 3, and then there's going to be a small collection of guys. Hey, Brad. Then there's going to be a small collection of guys that you may see day 3. Even one guy who might be an undrafted free agent that I just really love. So again, I'm just running to go grab some food. So I just figured I'd go through these guys and kind of tell you what's up. What's up, everybody in #Nation. Again, tonight you can join myself, Ryan Lasel, Icy Vic from the Huddle, as well as Spencer German, Clayton Garrett from the Cold Front Report, Drew Gear from the Rock Power Report. We are all actually going to be live streaming here on # rounds 2 and 3 of your Bills specific coverage. So I'm in tonight. Mario will be producing in the background, so I'm really excited to get in and finally talk some Bills. I got to miss out on last night, unfortunately. So right out of the gate, hey, my eyes are on the road. Don't worry, Donnie. I know. Don't worry, my eyes are on the road. So if we're talking about guys that you need to know, very first is Jack Drisco, tackle from Auburn. He's a guy I think the Bills could target, but they probably have to move up to get him. I don't really see him falling outside of the 40s. He's really good in pass protection. Honestly, probably one of the best pass protection tackles in the draft. Does a great job. If you go back and watch some tape on him, really great communication with his guard. Does some great pass offs there. Whenever there's any stunt blitzes, he was able to kind of pick and shuffle and move. But one thing about Drisco that I don't love is he's not a power drive blocker. So in the run game, he's definitely got there's some things to be desired with his work in the run game. Is a strong kid, don't get me wrong, but not exactly like a nasty finisher. Like you talk about Cody Ford, and that was the one thing coming out of college that you knew about Cody Ford was he was a finisher. Jack Drisco doesn't really fit that box, but very intelligent kid. Very, very intelligent kid, high football IQ, outstanding feet, probably would project as a right tackle. I don't really see him as a left tackle in the NFL, probably projects as a right tackle, but at this point, I don't think you're feeling comfortable about the tackle position in any order. Deion Dawkins in a contract year. Cody Ford, kind of had a rookie tackle season. I mean, that's what it was, and you kind of had him on a pitch count with his snaps. So, I understandably so. I still think tackle's probably an area where they look. Jack Drisco, I love Jack Drisco. Next up. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver out of USC, and there's a lot to love about Pittman. And USC is one of those colleges that they really put out good route runners. They have for years. I mean, you look at Robert Woods. Robert Woods was an outstanding route runner. I see Gary's mentioning that you think they're done with Ford at right tackle. Yeah, I think you kind of have to look at least giving yourself options to move around, right? I think you have to at least give yourself the option to not have to play Ford at right tackle. Michael Pittman, 6'4", 223, 101 catches this season, which was 3 times his previous production. So a little buyer beware. Whenever you see a wide receiver who all of a sudden just explodes, it's not always the greatest sign. And now, mind you, going to USC, so volume is certainly there in that offense. They definitely get enough opportunities. But Pittman is a phenomenal vertical threat. Really does a great job of generating separation downfield. But he's one of these guys that is not. He's good, but he's not flashy in the run blocking game. He really didn't look very good in the Senior Bowl. This cornerbacks at the Senior Bowl were not very good, and he didn't look great either. So you kind of were expecting a player like Pittman to, when going up against lesser competition, kind of rise to the occasion. You saw that with Chase Claypool, Denzel Mims. Like those are guys, when given an opportunity, they seem to excel. Pittman just hasn't really seemed to hit that stride for whatever reason. But Pittman's a great value to fall to you in rounds 3 and 4. I don't really see him making it out of round 3, but I suppose he could. But I really like Pittman a lot. Interesting thing about Pittman is 5 drops over his career at USC. I know drops are kind of a bugaboo for a lot of people. He only had 5. I think he had 176 catchable balls thrown his way, and 5 of them were dropped, which for a college player is really is actually quite good. Next up, Zack Braun. This is a name you might hear early day 3 or day 2. So Braun is kind of like that prototypical Bills linebacker. He is he's really good in zone coverage. Okay, I guess that's the best way for me to phrase that. He plays zone coverage really well. And the Senior Bowl was actually the first time they had ever asked him to play man coverage, and it was a disaster. The drills in practice did not go good. He looked kind of lost in man coverage, but in zone coverage, he's actually a really, really solid linebacker. He's got an explosive first step, so he's actually top 10. I'm sorry, in the 10-yard split, he was top in the at the scouting combine with a 1.54. So when they run the 40, they look at the first 10 yards. He hit that at 1.54, which was top of the class. Really explosive first step, great bend. So when you talk about a guy getting around the edge, he does a great job of getting around the edge with some leverage. 0 bull rushes though. This is not a guy who's going to take on a tackle. He's going to try and dance around a tackle, which is kind of the one thing that you just have to understand what you're getting, right? You're not getting this aggressive pass rusher. You're going to be getting a guy who can rush the passer and drop into zone coverage, which is what Bills run a lot of zone coverage. So that kind of fits the bill. 0 bull rushes last season. 0. Didn't even try. Right? Didn't even try. But that's okay. That's all right. What do you expect? Next up, Marlon Jackson. So Marlon Jackson profiles as a defensive tackle for Auburn. He actually put on about 20 pounds since the combine. So homeboy's been dipping the Funyuns. We're still waiting for that drug test to come back. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's not true, but he's put on some weight since the scouting combine. With that being said, with Marlon Jackson, he is a one-trick pony. So really strong at contact. But one of the issues that you have with him is, again, he's a grip and rip player. So very similar to what would be a good comparison on the Bills right now. Very similar to Harrison Phillips, where he plays with really strong contact points. But unfortunately, just kind of a one-trick guy. He did play end at Auburn, but he put on some weight, I think, to kind of give himself the opportunity to move inside in the NFL if that's what was going to be asked of him. In this defensive end class, I don't blame him for that, really. But he's the type of player that Sean McDermott absolutely loves. He's a collapser on the outside. He's going to collapse a pocket. But he is... did I say Jackson? Davidson, excuse me. The one thing you're going to run into with him is he's very Shaq Lawson-esque. Very Shaq Lawson-esque. So he's got one speed on the outside. Again, it could be a good value pick for you. I think you kind of have to look at that defensive end depth at this point. Like, you addressed it in the offseason with Mario Addison, but let's be real. I mean, that defensive end group is closer to retirement than they are to the rookie season. So you just have to be conscious of that, because you really have to breathe some life into the defensive end group at some point. And here comes my favorite player out of the whole thing. It's Derrick Tusker from North Dakota State. So here's a player that I adore, and here's why I adore him. He was really not recruited at all. Played 9-man football in high school. Kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. Real tall, real lanky, not a lot of great bend, but there is some fun film on him. He is a very fun player to watch. And yeah, thanks, I believe, Marlon Davidson. Yeah, you were right. I said Jackson. I don't know why I said Jackson. Derrick Tusker is fun from North Dakota State. Again, probably one of those players who's going to end up on a late sixth, seventh round player, maybe an undrafted free agent. But he's quick. And he could profile to play as an outside linebacker as well. You didn't really see him drop into coverage all that much at North Dakota State. Kind of a simple approach there. Just go get the quarterback. But there's some fun film on him. He's a fun player to watch. I was actually looking at film for another player and stumbled across Tusker. I mean, how often are you going to run into tape for North Dakota State? Like, guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say I don't have time, but I don't have that much time on my hands. But he really popped off the page to me. And yeah, Tusker could be a Max Crosby by Benny George. Yeah, love Max Crosby. And I feel similar to Tusker. I really do. Fast off the edge, could definitely stand to put on some muscle, but he's fast off the edge. He's a lot of fun. Other players to keep an eye on: Josh Uche, Tyler Johnson is another one if you're looking for wide receivers, and Bradley Anai, the defensive end from Utah, had an awesome Senior Bowl. And the Bills front office really loves the Senior Bowl. That seems to be one thing that they judge a lot of things off of. It's not just performance in the Senior Bowl, but some of these guys, some of these teams, if they weren't at the scouting combine, might have been one of the only opportunities to really talk to these players was at the Senior Bowl. So the Senior Bowl is a big deal. And that's something underclassmen aren't afforded, is the Senior Bowl. So Tyler Johnson's another player, wide receiver, again, medium size. I think he's right around 6'1", does a lot of things really well, but nothing amazing. What's a good like a Tyler Boyd? Tyler Boyd's, I think, a good comparable to him because Tyler Boyd does a lot of things pretty well. He run blocks pretty well. He runs pretty good routes. But he's not flashy. And I think that's what your Bills are looking to add. I see some of you guys mention quarterback, probably one of the headier quarterbacks in the draft, and you guys aren't going to like me saying this, and he's going to tumble down draft boards, but Jake Fromm is going to tumble down draft boards. And I know you're like, Paul, come on. Why do we want another quarterback who doesn't have the best arm? What does that help? He's got a high football IQ, and I think that makes a big difference. He's going to test really well inside a classroom. So if the Bills had to draft a quarterback, I'm fine with Fromm. He's a guy that you could cut and put on the practice squad. I don't think anybody's going to try and pick him up. But for those of you saying quarterback, Fromm is probably the guy. All right, so let's recap. Some of you are just new to the stream. Names to watch, day 2. I don't care about the Wonderlic. I'm talking about in a classroom. High football. You put him on a whiteboard, he's going to do an amazing job. The Wonderlic is irrelevant to me. I think the Wonderlic's stupid. Okay, so names to watch. Jack Drisco, the tackle from Auburn. Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver from USC. Zack Braun, a linebacker from, I believe, Wisconsin, if my memory serves me correctly. Marlon Davidson, the defensive end / DT from Auburn. And then Derrick Tusker, defensive end from North Dakota State. Those are your watch for tonight. Come join me on the draft show. Really excited about putting that together, and should be awesome to have an opportunity to talk Bills football for 4.5 hours. It's going to be a long one, but I'm in for the ride. I hope you guys are too. Trey Diggz. Interesting thing about Trey Diggz. Tom Chuck, I see you, Jonathan Taylor. Believe me, I'm talking. This isn't about who I want the Bills to draft. Just kind of talking about guys that'll be available. So Trey Diggz is an interesting one, right? So not the best tackler, right? Not exactly his strength. Not going to say it is, but Trey Diggz brings an interesting ideal into the draft, right? Because you already have Stephon Diggs here, and Trey Diggz and Stephon Diggs are about as tight gets. It doesn't get any tighter than those two. With that being said, if you're looking at trying to translate in an abbreviated offseason, because that's the one thing is you have to draft guys that you think are going to acclimate into your system quickly. They're going to have an abbreviated offseason most likely. So these guys have to be impact players right away. Stephon Diggs absolutely can translate for Trayvon Diggs as far as what coverage schemes look like in the NFL, the play speed, how it's different. These guys are workout warriors. They love to be together. So, Stephon being here, I think that gives Trayvon an opportunity to more quickly adjust to a NFL defense. With that being said, he's not the greatest tackler in the world. There's definitely some red flags with Trayvon Diggs, but having Stephon here, I think, makes a little bit of a difference because his movement into the defense could be a little bit smoother than if you would see the Bills grab another defensive back, a Kyle Duggar, another defensive back, in that second or third round. So Trayvon is a possibility. I'm not going to say that I don't really see him as a fit, but if the Bills are looking at it from a short lens view, how impactful will he be right now? I think he'd be pretty impactful right away. Again, just because of the relationship with Stephon Ari here. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. I will see you all at the draft tonight. It is starting at 7 o'clock, I believe, for rounds 2 and 3. Love you guys. I will talk to you all soon.